So the patient today is a 98 Discovery 1, and the problem really was on the passenger side. Water was getting into the footwell by the relays. So I pulled the fender off the passenger side, and well, this is the driver's side. The passenger side was the same, only worse. So the water that piles up in here off the windshield into here tries to come out this hole. On the other side, this body seam filler was 3/4 of the way up the hole, so that it had to be a pretty deep lake on this side before anything was coming through here. I've since filed that down, but I'm just showing you the driver's side before I get after it. So what's happening is water is coming along, getting inside this reinforcing channel and not draining out the bottom because there's no drain hole. Should be something in the corner there, but there isn't. So the water has nowhere to go except into the seam that's behind this channel. So it gets into the seam and runs out on the inside of the car and rots out this while it's at it. This one's not too bad, but I'm going to address this on the driver's side while I have it apart. And I want to do a bit of cleanup in here, and then I'll spray some fluid film on the steel parts. But we'll come around to the passenger side and show you what. So here we are on the passenger side where I started this little adventure, and I have cleaned it up a bit. It's been washed down, and I've got a bit more to do, but had to make a start anyways. So I've ground down the seam filler that was in that hole there, and I've knocked the loose stuff off, run over it with a wire wheel, washed it down, and I guess I'll try and deal with a little bit of surface rust and get it sealed up. So if you have water in the footwell, you might want to have a look at this. After finding this, I had a look on YouTube, and of course everything's been done, so you'll find this exact situation on a channel. I think the fellow's name is Tony Bendito. I'll find a link and put it in the description, but he goes through this exact process, so this must be a common thing. So yeah, if you have a Land Rover Discovery and you have water inside, or even if you don't, this is probably a good bit of maintenance to do, because sooner or later it will be a problem. So after the first round of cleaning on the seam, there's still a bit of water weeping out. And what I've been doing is taking a heat gun and chasing that water away, and I'll continue to do that until no more comes out. And thankfully today is a dry day. It's cold, around 0 degrees, but it's dry. So I should be able to get these seams dried right out. Seeing how much water continues to weep has me thinking that I'll never be able to seal this properly. There's always going to be a space, a cavity between these two panels. These ones up top, here, etc. So I think I'm going to dribble some oil in here. I'll probably use chainsaw bar oil, and I'm going to let it wick its way in there before I seal over top of that. And I think I'm going to use like a flexible tape, like a flashing tape that you would use when installing a residential window, something like that. I think that's what I'm going to do. Also, there's a gap here. And what's happening is water's getting between this panel, and it's coming out the joint here, and I don't like that. It's wetting this seam, so I'm going to seal this area as well. So I'm going to work towards that. I'm also thinking the top of this channel doesn't need to have holes for water to pour in, so I'm going to run the flashing tape over that and seal this. I believe these are legacy holes from when the Range Rover hood came farther down and this part didn't exist really. So I'll be sealing that. I've also noticed that there's on both sides here, there's a gap, and I don't know that water can get in here, but I don't know that it can't either, so I'll be looking to seal that up. Same on both sides. So I'll give you another view while the sun is on this panel here. Had another go at smoothing down this sealant, making it smooth enough to go over it with the flashing tape now that I've decided that's going to be the way forward for me. I took the little plastic finisher out from the corner of the windshield here, and you can see the seam on these panels. There's a joint there and water can get in there, so I'll be chipping out some of this old sealant, and when I put the flashing tape in, I'll come up this side in here to catch this lower seam here, and it will come up under this piece, and then I'll have a piece that wraps over the top, so any water that gets on top of this joint can't get in this seam. And I'll be sealing up this seam as well, so nothing can get behind this panel. And I'm struggling a bit to melt the ice that's formed in here so that I can clean this up better before putting flashing tape in. But yeah, the ice has been pretty persistent this morning. Here's a view in through the hole I drilled to get at the inner seam. Maybe you can see that. I'm hoping. So that's real suspect in there. So I'm trying to think how to seal that. I don't think I'll be able to get flashing tape in through that hole. So I may use like a roofing tar over that section of the seam and make sure it's sealed really well above here so that it doesn't get water in there in any case. This hole I drilled, and I'm going to bring the flashing tape down and probably cover that hole. I'll put nothing on the bottom in terms of the flashing tape. That way if anything does get in here, it can weep out. Or maybe not. That's the only place the factory sealant is holding up, so we'll see. But yeah, this is drying out nicely now. I've been after it with a heat gun, and I'll leave it sit for a while yet, but I think we're getting close. I'm working on the other side at the same time, so not in any panic here. On first look, it might not seem important to seal in here, and I was debating it myself because it appears to be open on the bottom. If any water did get in there, it could drain out here. But this piece is continuous over this direction. So if water is in behind here and it wicks this way, it's in behind this sealant and potentially getting into this channel. So I am going to go ahead and seal this joint. I just wanted to clarify why I'm doing that, because it looks unimportant for sure. So I have some flashing tape installed here, and I think that'll keep the water out of that seam. It's under there, and there's lots of drips, and the frost is melting and draining all over the side here, but I can get that with a heat gun. And I'm gonna start at the bottom with flashing tape, and once I reach the top here, I'll wrap a piece over the top so no water can get in here in the top of the flashing tape. And I think once I'm finished with the repair, I am going to treat the inside of this channel with fluid film. I might as well show you the driver's side while I'm at it. That's the first piece, hopefully the most difficult piece of flashing tape to install. That stuff sticks to everything, itself included, and getting it tucked away in there is a bit of a challenge. I think if I was doing this again, I'd probably take the hood off. So I'm just getting ready to put some oil into the seams, and I'm going to do that off camera. I want to be real careful, surgical with this. I just want it in the seam, and I don't want too much bleed out onto the panels, because I'm wanting the flashing tape to stick without oil being in the way. So I'll put the camera away, and I'll just get a couple of drips of chainsaw bar oil in these seams. And why am I using bar oil? Well, I use it all the time on chains and cables here on our rural property, with running the tractor and always using chains. And I find it seems thick, but over time it creeps everywhere. So it's what I'm going to use here. I'm hoping it just gets in those seams and stops the rust. I guess you could use fluid film in there as well, but I'm going to use bar oil. So there's the oil applied. Pretty happy with how that turned out. It's wicked along those seams pretty well. And now we'll put the flashing tape on. Here's a view of the flashing tape finished up on the passenger side. I think it turned out pretty good. I did put this piece over the top like I was mentioning before. It wraps over, so there's no longer a seam here for water to get in. I'm still going to seal this up. You'll notice the piece of flashing tape that's inside here. I did cut it so that it would wrap out and over this piece of flashing tape. So that's just observing the way the water would flow. In this section here, I don't think the seams are compromised, so I'm just going to spray that with some undercoat. And I've yet to work some roofing tar into the seam in there, but hopefully it should be spared any water going forward. I don't know that water can get in there anymore, but I'll seal it up just the same. And that's a wrap, I guess. Moving on to the other side, I'll get them to this stage, and then I'll do the undercoating and the fluid film, etc. in one go. Losing light pretty fast now, but here's how that project turned out. Pretty happy with it, really. Should breathe a few more years of life into the car. And I opted to just do the spray on undercoat on the seam on the inside there, inside that channel. And spray on undercoat where there was some surface rust around the hinge. And yeah, it is getting dark, but maybe I'll swing around to the other side. Same program over here. And I think I'll spray some fluid film around and put the fender back on. Almost forgot to seal this joint here. I've gone ahead and done that, and I've used a pipe joint compound to do that. And the reason I used pipe joint compound is it's, well, I had it first of all, and it's sort of non-permanent. I can break it out of there if I ever had to. And yeah, I think it worked out great. So that's a wrap on this project.